did see someone told me it was a full-blown, full-page ad in the Miami Herald.
Yeah. The Hasidic edition.
Hamafresh. It was on the 95. Hamafresh Chatasei. Starting on the top of page Chav Zayin Amud Beis.
Okay.
Top line, very top word. Mishnah.
Yeah.
Hamafresh Chatasei. If a fellow designates a chatas, and then the person dies. So lo yaviyane b'nai tachtav. The son cannot use that chatas for his own sins. It's very obvious that the Mishnah does not mean that the son doesn't bring it for the father's sins, because the father's death would be its own atonement. But the son maybe could use. The son has his own sin that he did. Maybe he could use his father's carbon. His father left it over. He's not allowed to bring it. Not only that, but lo yaviyane mechet al chet. The son, or not the son, but anyone can't bring one chatas for one sin, designated for one sin, for a different sin. He designated it for one, and then he does another sin. He says, "Oh, I'll bring it for the next one."
What are you saying, the Mishnah Mafresh?
Yeah. Afilu hirfish al chaylev shachal emesh, lo yavienu al chaylev shachal hayan. Even for the same sin.
Sounds like people.
Yesterday he ate chaylev. He's not supposed to bring a chatas for today's chaylev. No. He yesterday ate chaylev and he designated a chatas. He's not supposed to bring that chatas for today's chaylev. He has to bring it for the sin that it was designated for. Shenemar karbanai al chatasai adshei karban al shem chatasai. The sacrifice needs to be for that sin that it was designated for. We're going to have a nice long brisa here. Nice long brisa. And we're going to go through possibility is what we could have thought if not for the pasuk that taught us this. Hanimili. How do we know this? The Tana Rabbana was taught in a brisa. Karbanai. It says the pasuk says karbanai, and actually we're going to learn that it says 3 times karbanai, twice by one by a nasi and twice by a regular yachid. Karbani says that b'karbanahu yaitzi v'ena yaitzi b'karbanaviv. He's only yaitzi with his own carbon, but not with his father's carbon, like we learned in the Mishnah. Yachal, but that doesn't tell me any more than that. What about the following case? Maybe yachal la yaitzi b'karbanaviv b'behimashiv aviv menakala ala chamura ala chamura ala kala. Maybe what that only tells me is that if the father did a small avera, he wants the carbon for a big avera. Or the father did a big avera, and he wants the carbon for a small avera. That you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to bring it. But let's say it's the same status of avera. The father did a light avera, and the son did a light avera. Maybe that should be acceptable. No, a light avera is an avera without misa, without misa's bestin. Father, let's say, did Chilul Shabbos. The son did Chaylev or Nida. There's no Misa over there. So maybe that's when it doesn't work. But maybe if the father and the son did the same thing, maybe it should work. You can't use his father's carbon either way. Maybe he does not yaitze with his father's carbon, even if it's the same category of averas. If the father was a nazir and he separated a sacrifice for his nazirus, the son is a nazir. The father died. The son's going to use the father's carbon. You know he's not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to shave his head based on the sacrifice of his father. But if his father left money for a nazir's carbon, that he is allowed to use. And we would say that the same thing should apply. If his father left money and he didn't designate which where the money goes for. That this is for the chatas and this is for the oila. He just left money. The son is allowed to use that money for his own sacrifice. So if that's the case, then maybe designated money should be allowed to be used by the son. The pasuk says, "Tamalemer karbana, karbana hu yotzev eni yotzev b'karbanav." He can't use his father's. So far, we only know that money from the same category cannot be used. But maybe if he designated money for himself, it's only his father's money that he can't use once it's been designated. But maybe his own money that's been designated for a different category of karbanos he should be allowed to use. Talmud Laimar karbana al chatasei adshi l'shem chatas. What's the daled? Actually, karbana l'shem chetay. It has to be for the sake of his sin. We're on the second wide line. Yachal yotze b'karban atzmai. Maybe he won't be yotze with his own karban b'mehei mashefish la'atzmai afilu min akala ala kala min achamura ala chamura. Shekeinim hifish beim al chelev evi adam al adam evi al chelev shari le mal v'le keeper. Maybe we're suggesting like this: if he designates a sacrifice for a sin that he committed, let's say chelev, then he wants to bring that sacrifice for a different sin that he committed, which is dam. Okay. He did two sins. Sacrifice is designated for one. He wants to bring it for the other one. So we know that he's not allowed to do that. But we also know that there's no me'ilah there. Why is there no me'ilah? He's using something from that's sanctified for something else. So we say, well, because it doesn't work, that's not considered me'ilah. Because you can't switch it, so there's no me'ilah there. Aval yoytze b'mois shefer shla'atzmai. But let's say he designates money, and he wants to now use this money. Min akala ala kala min achamura ala chamura. Min achamura ala kala min akala chamura. He wants to use the money for a different sacrifice. For himself. He designated money for his own sacrifice. Now he wants to use the money for a sacrifice, but not for the same sin. Why should this work? So we say like this. Shekeinim hifrish la'atzmai mois ala chelev ve'vian al adam ve'vian ala chelev shreimal v'kiper.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Moshe.
Good morning.
Middle of Chav Zayin Amud Beis.
We started a few minutes ago. We did the Mishnah. We did the Mishnah on Chav Zayin Amud Beis. We're holding now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the wide lines down. 6 lines down in the wide lines. The line starts Adam. We're up to Sharei Mol V'Kiper. We're talking about using money designated from one sacrifice for one sin, and instead you're switching and you're using it for a different sin.
You're trying to prepare us for the next Masechta, is what's in the good?
And it's associated with Me'ilah. So
right,
what we said is,
so it's like he's trying to ease us into the next.
If you take the actual karban, then there's no Me'ilah. It doesn't work, the sacrifice, because you intended the sacrifice to be for chelev. You're bringing it for dam, so it doesn't work. But let's say you designated money for a sacrifice for chelev, and then instead you use the money for a sacrifice for dam. Over there is me'ilah. So maybe we should say that should work. Why? In other words, the me'ilah aspect, the fact that me'ilah works, the fact that it becomes me'ilah, that means that it's effective. You're taking the money out from what it was designated for. That should make it like it becomes something new, and it should actually work. Talmud Leimer kabana yal chatasai. No, actually kabana l'shem chetay. You designated that money for that. That's what it's supposed to go for. I have to point out that although this isn't spelled out in the Gemara, but I see Rabbeinu Gershon says that it works b'diavad. What our Gemara is saying is that you're not supposed to do this, but b'diavad it's actually going to work. It's going to be an actual car. It will be effective. My Leimal V'le Keeper. I explained the Gemara of Leimal V'le Keeper. We explained it. But the Gemara asks, what does it mean? Leimal, he wasn't Mal, he wasn't Keeper. What does that have to do with anything? Mal, Keeper. Tirgumar Rab Shmuel Bar Simi Kameder of Papa. Shmuel Bar Simi says in front of Rab Papa, the explanation, Hachi Kamer. Kimid Leimatzi Mal, because if the sacrifice is designated for one, and you tried to bring it for another sin, and we say that there's no Me'ila there, so Kippur Nami Mechaper, it also doesn't atone. If you can't move it, then if you can't move it from one sin to another sin, it's also not going to atone. Hayol Bakach Lematzi Meshani. If that's the case, you can't move it you can't change it from one to another. Aval Mois, but when it comes to money, Kimidi Meshani Mal. If you change it from one sacrifice to another, there is Me'ila. Umaisi carbon Me'ila, you're going to have to bring a carbon Me'ila for doing that. So Ema Betchila Nami Maisi. Maybe Lechatchila you should be allowed to do that, to switch it from one to another. Very strange Havamina. It's just that you're violating Me'ila. It's suggesting that Betchila Nam. Very interesting. Kamash Malan comes to tell us the pasuk that you're not supposed to do that. Maybe, and if you say b'diavad that you're yaitza, so it's interesting. The Gemara would fit better if I said b'diavad you're not yaitza, and betchila doesn't mean mamish lechatchila, because I know there's a prohibition. But Rabbeinu Gershon says that b'diavad, the issue. We're suggesting that lechatchila you should be allowed to switch money from one sacrifice to the other. Why? Because if it's a violation of Me'ila, that means that the money gets moved from one to another. That's what Me'ila means, that you took it from one sanctity and you used it for something else. Usually Me'ila is for personal use, but here you're just moving it. So if that's a violation of Me'ila, so then that should be a good sacrifice, because you see that it's moving. So maybe you should be able to do that lechatchila. Problem is, what do you mean lechatchila? It says you're violating Me'ila. You can't do it lechatchila. It says it's a violation. Under the category of karbanos, lechatchila, it should. What the Gemara is suggesting, maybe as the prohibition of not to use one sacrifice for a sacrifice for one sin for a different sin, maybe that is not a prohibition. And the Gemara is saying no, even that's not allowed. I guess that's the pshat. Okay, the Mishnah says. There's a new
This is
Mishnah.
like a variation of Nishayf Shabbos Goret, Nishayf Korbanos Goret, but it's
Something like that. Okay. For the joke, you get the soldier as the name. Vivian mehektish kispa seira. Someone designates money to bring a sheep, a lamb. He can switch it if he wants to bring a goat. He's allowed. It's interesting. He's not switching the sacrifice. He's just switching the type of animal. He designated money thinking that I'm going to buy a sheep. He gets to the store, to the marketplace, he can use that money to buy a goat for the same sacrifice. Because some sacrifices you have the option if you want to bring a sheep or a goat. Mehektish seira, if he designates money for the goat, kispa, he can bring it for a lamb. Mehektish kispa seira, if he designates the money for a sheep, a lamb, or a goat, he can bring from it Tarna b'nei Yaina, the lower carbon, the birds.
wait, what
Probably what's going on.
Mehektish would be Me'ila.
No, he designates money for his sacrifices, but when he's designating, he's thinking he's going to buy a sheep or a goat, and it turns out that that's not what he's getting him, but it's for the same sin. He gets the birds, or he designates for a sheep, and he gets to the marketplace, he buys a goat.
An equal or upgraded korban?
Could be, or for whatever reason, now we're saying that it's going down. Why is it going down? Probably because he became poorer. So
I'm sorry. Even though we learned in the past that doesn't, if you became poor in the
it
middle,
depends when.
then you
It
had
depends
to,
when. Depends when.
All right.
Here he didn't buy. He didn't designate the sacrifice. He just designates the. He just moves the money over to his other wallet. Mehektish Tarin b'nei Yoin asir seifa, and the same as in another level down. If he moves money over to buy birds for his karban, and he gets poorer. That's the word. Gets more poor. So
More poor? Is that English?
I don't know.
Impoverished.
Yeah, impoverished. But
Poorer.
that could be
Poorer is probably more correct.
So
Something from the Elitarianic.
excellent. So then that only doesn't mean you're more correct. It only means that you're allowed to have an opinion. So he's allowed to bring the asir seifa, the flour. Okay. Kate said, what's the case? Ifrish l'kis by l'sira. He separates the money for his lamb or his goat. Hani, he gets poor. Yaviyoth, he brings he can use that money for a bird. Hani, he gets poor. Yavi asir seifik, he use that money for the flour. Ifrish l'asir seifa v'hashir. He separates the money because he thinks he's very poor, so he separates it for the meal offering, the flour, and he gets wealthy. So Yaviyoth, he adds to that money, of course, but that money is going to be used together with more money for the bird. Hasher, he gets even more wealthy. Yavi Kispa Beisira, probably. He brings a lamb or a goat. How do we know this? The Gemara is going to conclude here is the Gemara is going to say that it says mechatasai, from his sin offering. Now the word me, the prefix mem, is going to tell me that I can use from that money, from the larger amount, I can use to buy a smaller one. And then it says the second time mechatasai, by the bird. That means from that money I can use it to buy the meal offering. Then the Gemara is going to say that by the meal offering it says al chatasai. That means I can add on to that money to increase it. That's what we want to get out of this. How do we know that we can use the larger sum of money to buy a smaller karban? It says mechatasai, from his sin offering. Okay. Let's how do we know this? The Tanur Rabbanan says mechatasai al chatasai. Those three expressions are going to teach me all the laws that we just said in the Mishnah. What's it saying? From where do we know that you bring from the money that's for a lamb, that you're allowed to bring a goat? From the goat you can bring a lamb. From the money for a lamb and a goat you can bring the birds. From the birds you can bring the flour, that money. Kate said, how do we know? Kate said first before, how do we know this? What's the case? Here first the kispa sira v'hani. He designated money for his lamb or his goat. He gets poor. Yavi yoif, he brings the bird. Hani, he continues to get impoverished. Yavi asir seifa, so he brings the meal offering. Here first asir seifa, he brings the meal offering. V'hashir, he gets wealthy. Yavi yoif, or wealthier, I should say. He brings the bird. Hashir, he gets wealthiest. Yavi kispasira, he brings the goat or the lamb. Hifrish kispasira, getting a little carried away here, but if he designates money for his lamb or his goat, or he actually designates that the actual kispasira. And Vinistavu, they got a mum. So Imratza, I don't know if this Imratza is supposed to be here. Ratza Yavi Bidamiyamaif. He can use it to buy a bird. The money from the mum sacrifice, money from the sacrifice of the mum, he can use to buy a bird. Why? Because there's such a thing as a pidyon, an animal that gets a mum, a carbon that gets a mum, you can redeem it to get another animal. So once you're redeeming it, you can also redeem it to get a bird if that's what you needed from this. If that's the situation. Hifra shaif. Let's see.
Meaning if that's the carbon you use the bird.
Right. Hifra shaif. If he designates a bird in a stav, somehow the bird gets a mum. So really, we say there's no woman by oifus, but this must mean it lost a leg or something. It's missing a limb. So, lo yavi b'dam of asir seifed. You can't redeem it. Shein la'if pidyon. You can't redeem it and buy a meal offering because that's what he needs now or whatever. Because a bird does not get redeemed. Okay. But we said that you can use the money, but you can't actually redeem the actual bird. Once the bird is designated, you can't change that for anything else. L'chein nemar. Going back to the original question. That's why it says, Mei chatasei al chatasei. From his sin offering, on his sin offering. Vitrich l'michtav mei chatasei gabi kispe sira. Has to say it, Mei chatasei, by the lamb and the goat. Vitrich l'michtav gabi oifin, has to say it by the bird. Why? Because each one goes a level down. And we'll see that just because it's the same pattern of going a level down from the goat to the bird and from the bird to the meal offering, but there's a difference between going down from the goat to the bird to going down from the bird to the meal offering. That's why he needs to say it twice. If it would only say it by the lamb or the goat, Hava Amina, you see that, Hey Aleph, Hava Amina, it's an abbreviation. I would have said, Hifrish Kispa, if he designates for the lamb, Kimiani, when he gets poorer, Mahalin Mois, from this money, Nachlin on Alayf, he can use it to buy a bird. The Naisi Oif, Nachlin on Alayf, the Naisi Oif, the Kispa Sira, the Naisi Oif, the Kispa Va'oif Tavai Mini Damim Nino. Because a lamb and a bird are both types of blood. They're living animals, and therefore, I could see that it could be exchanged one for the other.
So he did not buy the initial lamb?
No.
He just said, I'm going to buy a lamb.
And he designates the money.
What?
And
then it shows up, and then it turns out he doesn't have enough money for
right.
it. Okay. But he
So,
meant well.
I love it. That's funny.
Right. Valasir is safe. But to buy the meal offering, the lab mini damim nino, that's totally a different category. If the pasuk didn't say, if it didn't say mechatasai again, gabiyoif, by the bird, I would say that if he designates money for his birds, for his nest, is a nest, and he gets poorer, he cannot bring the meal offering because it's too different from the bird offering. I wouldn't say that you can use that money to go down to the meal offering. But I would say this would be like the poor get poorer. That the money that he had for the birds, he can't use for the meal offering. He'd have to bring new money from his house to get the meal offering. The money that he had for the birds is just going to go to the temple. You have to get new money for the meal offering. That's why it says mechatasi by the bird, to say that from the bird you can also bring the meal offering. Let's see if this is supposed to be taken out. You take out vachi kamar. Take out that word. Kimafresh lesir seifa. If he designates for a meal offering, but before he gets there, hashir, he gets wealthy. So naisif alein, he can add money to it. But naisif, he can bring a bird. Hashir, he continues to get wealthier. Naisif alein, he adds more money. But naisif kisper, he brings a lamb or a goat. This is all, I should have mentioned, this is all by a karban oila v'yored, specific karbanis that work by the person's wealth. For example, he's tamei and he enters into the mikdash. That's a karban oila v'yored. We'll see. My
Is
time.
that why it's called oila v'yored?
Oila v'yored means that it fluctuates on your income, on your
You have to give them your last year's bank tax return.
Tax return.
Pay stubs. My time, how do we know this? Ksiv al chatasei, tabi asir seifa. It says on his sin offering. That means that you're able to add to the original money to increase to get the higher level. Because if it would say al chatasi by the bird, havamina, I would have thought if he designates money for the birds, the hesher, and then he gets wealthier. Who the maisif alei and a maisri kispa aisira? That's when he's allowed to increase the money to raise it up a notch to get a lamb or a goat. The tavayimini damim then, because both are types of blood. Aval hifsh mais last year seifa. But if he designated money for the meal offering, the hesher, and he gets wealthier. That's the base. Halein de mafresh. Ilu. Hesher tuva naisi oif. The hesher tuva naisi gispa sira. Halein mais dafresh ipul nadava. I could have thought that this money is separated, and he has to bring other money for the birds, and if he gets more wealthy, other money for the lamb and the goat. Achiksiv kra bahadain. That's supposed to be bahadain. That's why the pasuk says bashira subedalas mechatasei 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 mechatasei. This is confusing. I'm just going to read it as it's written. Chatas basirs vidalas mechatasei v'gabidal dalas al chatasei lemedrash kedamina. So it says twice mechatasei mechatasei, and on the lowest level it says on the meal offering it says al chatasei. Okay, as we explained. Amar Rabbi Lazar Amar Rabbi Shia. We're going to have here a machlekes. What Rabbi Shia holds. First opinion is Rabbi Lazar Amar Rabbi Shia. Then we're going to have Rav Chaga Amar Rabbi Shia. And the interesting thing is like this. Rabbi Lazar says the name of Rabbi Shia. I don't have the cards. Rabbi Shia should be towards the top in Eretz Yisrael.
I got the message.
Here's Oshia and here's Elazar.
I ordered two.
Rabbi Shia.
So you gave
Basically
it
at
to
the
me.
top.
Rabbi Shia is up here. Is the first generation Amoraim of Eretz Yisrael, and Rabbi Lazar is there. Now, there's someone else that's going to say in the name of Rabbi Shia, his name is Reb Chaga, and he is off the charts.
He's off the charts.
Natami Mikdash Rusher, a wealthy fellow that's Tameh, that enters into the temple. So he's supposed to bring a lamb or a goat because he's wealthy. Shehifresh kain lekivashtei. Instead of giving the full sacrifice for a wealthy person, he considers himself poorer and he brings just birds. He separates birds. So becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And veheni, he actually gets poorer. So hayel v'nidche yidche. The problem is that at the time that he separated it, that was not the appropriate sacrifice. So that sacrifice, if he would have brought it, it would have been puzzle according to Rabbi Lazar Amar Rabbi Shia. So therefore, it's considered a sacrifice that's rejected, and we know the rule that a sacrifice that's rejected can never come back. Amar Rav Huna.
And it was not good because he should have brought a wealthier.
Yeah.
And now even if he's poor, it's no good
because at that time it was rejected. So Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. We jump several generations here into Bavel. A student of Rava, Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. Shema minat tlas. We learned from this three things. Last time we did this, we had to adjust it, but this time it seems to fit. The three things. Shema minat balechaim nidachim. Apparently, sacrifices while they're alive could be rejected. which is not so simple, because this was a big machlekes. Do we say that a live animal gets rejected even though you didn't do anything to it, just because for some reason it's rejected? Here it's rejected because he designated it for a sacrifice that wasn't what he was supposed to bring. And now he is supposed to bring it, but it's rejected already. So we're saying Balei Chaim Nidach. We also say Kedushas Damim Nidche. We say this was never a valid sacrifice. It was only eligible. The money was only consecrated. It wasn't consecrated in a way that the body was consecrated. The problem over here is Rashi points out that why he's saying this is Kedushas Damim. You're making it look like it was possible to redeem it. Damim means that only its value is consecrated. Only its value is consecrated means that it has a value that you could redeem. The problem is it's a bird that has no redemption. We just learned on the page before you can't redeem a bird. So he answers, that's only if the bird cannot be redeemed, only if it was eligible at one time to be an actual sacrifice. Then it can never be redeemed. But here, it was never eligible ever. So there's no Kedushas Mizbeach to it, because it was consecrated in a way that it was never suited to be a sacrifice. And finally, v'dicha mikara v'dicha. Because this was never eligible,